Wow, it's been an enormously turbulent ride for you here as acting consul general, deputy consul general. It seems like you spent more time leading the mission than you have serving as a deputy. We've had the pandemic. We've had turbulence in American politics and Israeli politics, changing demographics of the Jewish population here in the New York area. How do you sum up your experience here in the Big Apple?
I had eventful 5 years. I think altogether, I have to say, a year and a half, altogether 18 months, as serving as the acting consul general, following the ending of Ambassador Danny Dayan's term here, tenure here, and then Ambassador Asaf Zamir. Part of my responsibility as the deputy is to step in and to take the responsibility for the time being until the arrival of a successor. It's been an eventful 5 years, as you mentioned. We had 5 rounds of elections in Israel, including a global pandemic, but it's still a very satisfying, and I'm grateful for the experiences I gained here in these 5 years in New York.
You mentioned satisfying. What do you take away from these experiences? What are you going to remember most, do you think?
Actually, I learned a lot about the relationship with the United States. People usually think that this is just the relationship is deep and we're talking about a strategic alliance. It's much more than that. And this is our mission here, to build these meaningful relationships, grassroots level, to build relationships. This is our mission here in New York, with community leaders, of course, with elected officials, and to create this bond, strong bond between the people in Israel and in the United States. And of course, there is no better place to do that than in New York.
Those bonds that you mentioned during your time here in New York have sometimes been incredibly tight, and sometimes we'll call them frayed. So how have you, in your time here in New York, managed to kind of keep a consistency in how you approach the relationship, knowing that at least at the top levels, sometimes times are better than others?
Our responsibility is to maintain and to build these relationships in a way that transcends actually any political reality or disagreements. Again, among good friends, we can have disagreements politically, of course, but the goal here is our mission. Our goal is to create this very strong and meaningful relationship that goes beyond the politics. It goes beyond the political and security interests that we have between our countries. As allies, we're talking about our shared values, the deep bond between the people. We reach out to different communities here. We build relationships with diverse communities in the city, or in New York and throughout the 5 states in which we operate. For example, we build relationships with the Latino community here, and especially the Puerto Rican community, by engaging with them, working with them also, and working on projects. For example, in Puerto Rico, we travel once a year to Puerto Rico in November, part of the SOMOS conference, and we're very proud of the work that Israel and Israelis are doing on the ground over there. And as well as we're connecting Israeli nonprofits with local nonprofits here. In a way, we're trying to be helpful, and we're trying to bring Israel to be a meaningful part of the work, the communal work of diverse communities here in New York.
You mentioned, and I mentioned as well, that so many roadblocks along the way. When we're talking about COVID, which was obviously the biggest, but having to essentially pause somewhat during all these governmental changes, not knowing the direction that was coming. How did you take those periods of time where it seems like everything came to a standstill and keep going forward and trying to accomplish things on behalf of the state, on behalf of the residents here in New York?
A crisis is always an opportunity. Throughout the pandemic, there was one, of course, the world stood still, but there was also one advantage, which is Zoom, that actually connected us all together. Back then, we understood that Israel has some added values and very unique experience that we can actually share with our friends here. So, for example, Israel had a very successful vaccination drive, and we had good lessons learned from this experience that we shared with government officials here in New York and in other states. We connected, again, Israel nonprofits, the Israel Trauma Coalition, for example. We set up some Zoom calls between nonprofits here to talk about how to deal with, again, for community leaders, how to address the trauma caused by the pandemic. How can we be relevant to government agencies here and maybe provide some protocols that would actually assist local governments, the departments of health, and etc., in addressing trauma and the psychological effect on first responders during the pandemic. We're basically looking for all opportunities to be relevant and to be helpful, to bring the Israeli experience, and to basically provide our help and our assistance wherever it's possible.
With all due respect to the consuls general in places like Chicago or Toronto, this is New York, and the Israeli expat population here is exploding. Obviously, the American Jewish population here is the largest outside of Israel. But it's a changing population in terms of religious observance, in terms of political affiliations, in terms of a lot of different things. How have you adjusted with that Israeli and that Jewish population here during these 5 years?
I won't talk about my colleagues. I love them very much and I appreciate and respect their work. Yes, we are, the consulate in New York is informally the Israeli embassy to the American Jewish community. The national headquarters of the Jewish organizations sit here in New York. We're also responsible for, throughout these 5 states of our responsibility, we're basically working with about 45% of American Jewry. We follow, of course, the developments and the trends, and we respect, of course, the developments, and we do not intervene in Jewish life here, and especially the developments within the Jewish community. But we're in very close relationship, and I think that first of all, as the representatives of the state of Israel, we have a responsibility to build a relationship between our mishpucha, between our family, and to create these meaningful experiences and to bring Israel to be part of to be a strong and important part of the Jewish identity. We also work in a very wide tent. So I'm part of our mission politically is, of course, to keep Israel as a bipartisan cause here in New York. We're exercising the same principle with the Jewish community. It's not less sensitive, and keep a wide tent approach to engage with as broad a spectrum of communities in a way that would be non-political, non-denominational. We're engaging with everyone. Everyone is willing to engage with us, of course, is welcome to do that. And I think that it's important for us to keep Israel an important and a meaningful part of the Jewish identity of the American Jewish community.
Just as you will be heading off to Israel, the mayor of New York City will be flying back to the Big Apple after a multiple-day trip to the Jewish state. It's been in the works for quite some time. What were you hoping that he'll accomplish there?
This is a very important visit. New York City is not just another city, and the mayor of New York City is not just another mayor. And of course, Mayor Adams has a very close relationship with the Jewish community here, as well as with the consulate and the state of Israel. And we believe that such a visit, first of all, it's an opportunity for us to engage more closely. We're looking for opportunities for further collaboration between the state of Israel and New York City in different fields of technology, innovation. We have a vegan mayor, so I think that food tech is an important sector that we should explore of ways in which we can actually collaborate, as well as other technologies. And we are looking for ways to expand this collaboration between New York City and the state of Israel. I think that also in the context of the Jewish community, it's very important. It's a very important message to visit. The mayor just visited Yad Vashem, issuing very strong statements against anti-Semitism. And I think that his leadership is critical and very important in fighting this phenomena that we've seen, this unacceptable spike in anti-Semitism that we've seen in the last several years.
What advice do you give to your successor?
I think that he should first of all listen. The goal here is to build relationships. It's a long-term mission. It's, with all due respect to my work in the last 5 years, I'm just another diplomat basically carrying out this work that started many years ago. And I think that he should sit, he should listen first of all, be a mensch. Sometimes it's important to engage in a very, this is our mission, to engage in a very meaningful way with the local communities here, Jews, non-Jews, and to build this relationship and to bring Israel to be a meaningful part of this life in this wonderful city.
In terms of you, what does your future hold?
I'm still considering my next steps. I think that for the time being, I would like to, it's been, as I said, eventful 5 years. I need to take some time off, and I will explore my options in the future.
Israel Nitzan, thank you so much for taking the time. B'atzlacha.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll catch up again down the road.
Thank you very much.